is Amishadai, and welcome to my channel. We are going to be speaking about dealing with abandonment wounds. I know it all too well. That abandonment, those abandonment issues have followed me even into my adulthood. I was mentioning it to one of my friends in church, and I was like, yeah, I'm going there. I was like, and I'm actually going to be starting with speaking about my abandonment wounds. And, easily she's like, oh, you're going there. I feel like so many people have that exact response. When you mention the word abandonment, I feel like something clicks in a lot of people who may think that I don't have any abandonment issues. That's in the past. Growing up in a home where, thank goodness that I had so many of my siblings and my mom, who was an amazing a woman of God, regardless, like human and all, but she was a definition of the woman of God that I try to be every day while I'm here on this earth, a great example on who he is. Um, and she did everything. Like, I just remember her just being our rock. She has been our rock, not that it was a perfect thing, not that she didn't deal with her own stuff, that she didn't have her own struggles, but regardless, what no one could ever take away is the way my mom was, and her love, and her her zeal when it came to her children. And definitely a definition of a mama bear with her cubs. That was my mom. Like, she was very, she would go there, she got to fight you, she'll fight you, and then she'll pray for you later. That was my mom. Like, there was no messing with her children. She did everything she can to try to make us happy, even with circumstances. And it wasn't such an easygoing childhood at sometimes, we just, life happens, she was that single mom, sometimes way too many of us know the feeling of growing up in a single parent house, house where they're the mom and the dad, right? Where they have to do everything wrapped up in one, even with their limitations, even with things that they don't have or they didn't know about. And that was my mom for me, but there was always a void. There was always a void, because no matter what and how great she was at her job, that father figure, let's talk about that father figure. To be, yeah, it is what it is. And, I really didn't have that father figure. My dad was not a part of my life. I think it started even prior to me, I guess, even being born, young, so you kind of don't remember everything. He would come in and out, but not constant at all, really not constant, and not, not a present father at all. No relationship, nothing. I do remember a period of time that, yes, I think he kind of, when I was a little bit younger, he would stick around, and but even in that, um, it was very vague in it, and the visits were short, and it wasn't something that was. And I know he probably tried. I know at an instant where he did probably try to be a part of our lives, in a way, and due to his own things, and due to, we all dealing with stuff, right? We're all dealing with different things. I guess he just didn't have what he needed to be able to be that present father in our lives, in my life. Your favorite shows you watch, right? Your favorite sitcoms you watch, there's a father there, there's always a father that they can run to when someone's bullying them, or, dad, I don't know what to do with this. There's always that type of interaction, and nothing that I could connect with because I didn't have that interaction. Um, of course, I would be, remiss if of course I didn't mention that I did have a father figure. Once upon a time, I was fairly young, but I do remember the glimpses of him, because I remember him literally taking me in as if I was his own daughter. And, and if anyone asked, I was his daughter. There was no denying that. And I do remember those core things of, losing him to a sickness. I do remember him spoiling us, and him like, you want ice cream, and just giving us all this ice cream. Um, And just being there, that I do remember. I just remember him just being there. I remember me having that, like looking at him like, you're my dad, no matter what, even if he wasn't. And then losing him while I was still young, it's like removing that only male figure that I saw as a father. And that, I guess, what was forever etched in my heart. Like I was close to having it and lost him. So the glimpse that I may have had of a father figure was shortly lived. In other words, so that was kind of stolen even when I tried to gain it in another way. But the feeling of abandonment, you think that it just stays there, but there's so many core memories that are it kind of stays in your mind, and it messes with you even as you get older. And I am to learn this, of course, by going through it, right? I remember the times where I would wait and my dad would say he's going to come pick me up, even from when I was little. Um, and I used to be super excited because no matter what, it doesn't matter if he was gone however long amount of time, it was just the feeling of he's coming around again. I can't explain that. I was just always that little girl that just wanted and I yearned for the love of a father. And every time he would call, I'm coming, I'm coming, I'm coming to get you. Um, I would actually get extremely excited, get ready, like, oh my God, I can't wait. And then wait by the window and wait by the window and wait by the window. And either he called my mom and made a reason on why he couldn't show up, but I felt like that was just a consistent thing where we would be ready and he just wouldn't show up, and we were waiting and waiting. And I knew I would always cry because I was like, that sucks. Like, why? Like, why did I have to be that little girl that is waiting by the window and waiting for you to actually come and pick me up when you promised you would? The disappointment just gets so intertwined in your heart. That disappointment, it just sticks. It sticks and it stings really bad. Um, on top of those many reasons, I remember as I got older, as I became a preteen to a teen, I remember just growing such anger towards him, such anger towards him that there was a moment that, he's like, yeah, he's coming over and whatever. And I remember my mom telling me he's coming over and me just locking myself in my room. And I'm like, I do not want to see him at all. Like, there's nothing I have to say to him. I don't want to see him. And I remember crying out of anger. I'm just like, oh, great. Now you want to show up. And I remember him showing up and I did not leave my room. I don't want to see him. I rather he leave, because it's at that point, it's like, stop setting me up. Stop getting me excited just to drop me over and over and over again. It was so hard because as much as I wanted to dislike this man, as much as I wanted to, and I definitely did come into a place of eventual hate for this man, um, the yearning to have that love never left. And I think that's where all my anger went into, where it's like, why can't I stop thinking of this man? Why can't I just let him be as a regular stranger I pass in the street? Like, why is this yearning for something that he's never given me? Why is there this yearning? Why? That just continued to grow and that became to fester. You know, as I mentioned, my mom tried everything to be both, everything that she can as a woman to be both, but as a daughter. And when you're surrounded by so many people who have this father figure in their lives, and you not being able to have that comparison, it's such a weird feeling. And every time something comes up where it's a constant reminder of what I do not have, even as the years went on, right? I'm past my teenage years. Every now and then he will still pop up on social media, everything. And, I cordially speak, but every time it did, it was always something that like stung. if you ever got stung by a bee, and it's just like the eventually you start feeling it. And when you start feeling it, it's like, ooh, the pain gradually just gets there. And that's how it almost felt for me, where it gradually went there. You always are like, what if I had that? What if I finally had that untainted, um, just a pure daughter father relationship? What would happen? What would my life be like? Um, and what's crazy is all of this in the mix. I'm telling you, like, I'm already an adult. So by then, I'm already serving God. I've been serving Him. Little did I know that all of this, the feeling of abandonment, the abandonment of someone just not wanting to be there, and then the sting of having someone when I barely remember, but the glimpses that I do remember were amazing, of this father figure and losing him beyond where I can understand it. Um, that I still even remember the funeral. I remember one of the dresses that I wore. I remember seeing my mom's reaction when we had to step into that funeral home. Those core things is like, as young as I was, it's like etched into my brain. And I remember that because I remember the loss of how close I was to have that and it being taken away. So here I am into my adulthood and I'm trying to serve God. I'm trying to do all these things, dealing with my abandonment wounds that I didn't even know were wounds yet. I was like, okay, you kind of like out of sight, out of mind. That's where I was, like out of sight, out of mind. I don't have to deal with it. It is what it is. You're thinking that it's not affecting you. But little did I know it was completely affecting me to an extent where I didn't even understand it. The abandonment that I dealt with created such an anger in me. What was so crazy is here I am trying to have a relationship with God and still dealing with these abandonment wounds that I haven't really dealt with. It's just not paying attention to it at the moment. It's not phasing me because I'm not seeing it right now. But it affected everything. It affected how I saw God. Um, did I ever see God as a father figure? No. I can sing songs about it. I was able to sing songs in regards to that, or the love that he has as I'm his daughter and he is my father. But the disconnect was very much so there, that it affected the way I prayed. It affected what I expected out of him, what my expectations was of this relationship with God. It was to the point where it's like, okay, I love you, God, but that was it. There was no deep connection. I didn't allow him um in ways that I should have, all because it all stemmed back to this. It all stemmed back to my first feeling of abandonment. And here you are, and you're saying you're never going to leave me, you will never forsake me. And I don't believe those words. It sounds beautiful. It sounds amazing, actually. But I had no connection to it. Not having that earthly father figure to be able to go to and to rely on. And he's my defense, like I'm his baby girl. He's making sure no one will harm me. I didn't have that connection with God to believe that he won't harm me, that this connection was there due to this wound. Um, and when I knew, and as I'm getting older, and like I mentioned, I'm dating my husband by then, I'm thinking I'm fine. Then I remember him coming into the doors of my church, um, where I'm a leader, where I'm a worship leader. And I remember he was late, right? So I sit all the way in the front. And I remember looking back because of course people come in late, you're like, the typical who coming in late, and I remember looking back and the minute that I saw he was trying to make his way to a corner, so he was going through some people. Um, and of course he locked eyes with me because I know that's why he came. um Pretty much all of the rage and the unforgiveness and the abandonment again, and just pure hate that I felt for this man came over me. And I can't even tell you exactly how conflicted I felt. Like, I just want you to get that. Like, I was so conflicted because here I am, and I felt like such a rush of emotions. I said out of sight, out of mind, right? I thought I was good until he came rushing through those doors, and everything that I thought that I did, I thought I forgave this man, I thought that I was good, came rushing back the minute that he looked at me. And my pastor's wife, she even like, she realized it, and I didn't know what to do with myself at that moment. And I remember feeling that, and then on the other end of it, felt like such a hypocrite, because I'm like, here I am, and I'm a leader, and here I am about to be a wife, and all these things coming in, and I'm like, and he walks in through that door, and I feel like that little girl all over again. And he is standing there looking at me like with puppy eyes, like, can you, forgive me? And I did not have a forgiving bone in my body at that very second. I was so blinded by everything that came rushing back. I remembered it so clearly. The wound was very much so open at that moment, wrestling with between my spirit and my flesh, and the unforgiveness that I felt. It made me so ashamed of myself, because I was like, oh my God, I was holding on to this whole time, and I didn't realize it until he was there in front of me. And I go up to him, and I remember just saying, I forgive you. And I'm gonna be honest, the words took a very long time to come out of my mouth. And I have to keep repeating it to myself every time it wells up again, like, but why? But why? I'll forgive him again and again and again. And I remember just hugging him, and him like almost needing that, needing to hear me say, I forgive you. The healing process was finally able to start in that aspect. God's not going to be done healing me until the time when he calls me to be with him. It's a constant healing. It's a constant remembering of what he has done, that he's not done with me yet, and that he loves me, and that he is my father, and he's teaching me to love him as such, and he's teaching me through the characteristics of who he is. So I think it's very important, even for anyone who's listening, who is still dealing with abandonment issues. I just ask you that you invite God to teach you, even in while you're going through it, while you're kind of understanding all those feelings. um Open up yourself to him. I can promise you that there's someone who won't drop you. Deuteronomy chapter 31, verse 8, it says, it is the Lord who goes before you. He will be with you. He will not fail you or abandon you. Do not fear or be dismayed. He will not abandon you. And I want to just end with a little prayer. My God, we come before you at this moment. And I pray, my Lord Jesus, over every person that is hearing this at this moment, who may be dealing with abandonment issues, my God, even years after, or currently, Lord Jesus. I pray at this moment that they may feel you as that Abba Father that you are, my God. Not leave them nor forsake them, my Lord, but you see them. You see them in their pain. You can do it all, how you can take them up and they become yours, how we are yours, that you have adopted us, that we do no longer have to feel abandoned, my God, but we have become your sons and your daughters. You are not like man. You can't make errors and you can't make mistakes, and you will not leave us even if we're not perfect, even if we fall, even if we fail. I thank you for that. Thank you for being our Father. Thank you, my Lord Jesus. Be blessed.